Yes, very good. Right. Thank you for joining me once again. And for those of you who it's your first ride here, welcome one and all to the Meat Militia, where what we do here is we overcome very, very bad ideas with much better ones. That's what we do. Also, what we do is we correct people who are wrong on the interwebs. This is a recidivist offender. I remember doing a response video to this individual. Name's Paul Revalia. I remember doing a response to this guy, many moons ago now, which is lost to the deep, dark annals of time, I guess. Although it's not really. You might find it still existing on my other social media platform. You never know. In the meantime, this is new for many of you. This is Paul Revalia, who has a little video here entitled "How many calories for fat loss?" ? Well, Paul, why don't you tell us how many calories for fat loss, and we'll put you right where you're wrong. Which, spoiler, boys and girls, is likely to be everywhere, isn't it? Right, off you go, Paul.
In today's video, we're going to break down what it takes to create a caloric deficit.
A caloric deficit, you say, Paul? Well, that's interesting. Very, very interesting. Because calories are heat. They are a measurement of heat energy, specifically heat energy. Explicitly heat energy and nothing else. They are defined as an effect on a certain amount of water by changing its temperature in degrees Celsius by a certain amount. It is heat. Calories are heat and nothing else. And before some of you start jumping up and down going thermodynamics though, you need to understand that if you are the people jumping up and down saying thermodynamics though right now, you're an idiot. You know nothing whatsoever about thermodynamics if you're jumping up and down right now saying thermodynamics though. Okay, nothing whatsoever. Most of you probably don't even know how many laws of thermodynamics there are or what any of them actually say. If I phoned each of you jumping up and down right now going thermodynamics though and asked you to quote to me any one of the X number of thermodynamic laws that do exist, I would suspect that you will struggle. So, number one, get your ego in check. Number two, how dare you question me, frankly, on this? How dare you? And number three, watch the rest of this video and you'll learn quite a bit, I would suspect. Right. So, no, Paul, there are no caloric deficiencies in human beings, irrespective of how much food you might eat, actually. A caloric deficit in a human being would be a human whose body temperature has dropped because calories are heat, Paul, and nothing else. And they are not interchangeable for other forms of energy in human beings. We don't have the machinery to achieve that. We do not encapsulate heat and use that for metabolic process. No. And as such, calories are of no value to us whatsoever. So the only way that you could define a shortage of calories in a human being is if that human being has a lowering of their body temperature. That is a thing that, depending on the magnitude of that temperature change in that person, Paul, will very quickly, in most circumstances, lead to the death of that individual. Okay, so that's not the sort of thing we want to be establishing. What you'll find, luckily though, is that the human body has great homeostatic mechanisms, and as such, it is more than capable of maintaining a very, very stable core body temperature, irrespective of how much food you might eat on any given day, pretty much. Okay? Anyway, tell us more about this heat of yours, though, Paul.
To take your physique from looking like this to looking like this.
Oh, that's a great change there, well done. But that's nothing whatever to do with heat, which is what calories are.
In the case of my client Brittany, from looking like this to looking like this, or
well, interesting. I mean, make your own assessment staff on that last comparison, those last two photos. I know which one I would prefer, without any question, actually. And again, even if you disagree with me on that, it's fine. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. They're just not entitled to share it because this is not a free speech zone. And anyone that argues with me, the Field Marshal, is guilty of hate speech and will be dealt with accordingly. You'll have to stay behind after class and do the dusters. Anyway, what was I saying? Doesn't really matter.
What, are you retarded?
I was saying I prefer one of those photos over the other one. Oh, that was it. And even if I didn't, so what? It's got nothing to do with heat. Nothing at all. Because remember, calories are heat, Paul.
Or in your case, to reach your physique goals. We're starting right now.
Good, let's start.
Hey guys, what's going on? This is Paul Revella from ProPhysique.com.
Paul Revella. But spelt Revalia, which would be Revalia, or, I don't know, Revella? Are you just being lazy, or can you not pronounce your own name? Don't know. It's your name, I suppose you must know how to pronounce it. Perhaps I'll just pronounce my name differently from what it is, just for fun. Anyway, that's a complete aside.
In today's video, I got a great question on my Instagram direct message. So I'd like you to go to my Instagram. If you
we won't be doing that, Paul.
guys have questions, I love answering those questions. And if I think they're a great question, I'm going to put it here on YouTube. So let's ask the question and then we're going to answer it. How many calories should I eat per day to remain in a deficit?
Well, that's interesting, because you can't eat heat, and neither can you be in a deficit of heat, unless, of course, you are about to die because of hypothermia, or indeed because you have in fact already died and you are now returning to the ambient temperature of whatever's around you because you're no longer producing heat as a function of metabolic process.
1,500 calories or less.
1,500 heat units or less, none of which you can consume or eat, because all of them actually are made up in the form of photons, by the way, photons which are completely massless. Okay, so you cannot put on mass by consuming heat, because, well, number one, you can't consume heat anyway. Your body will not consume and retain it whatsoever. And neither can you lose mass by exuding massless photons either. So this is not going to work either way, is it? Doesn't matter how many heat units you say you're consuming whatsoever, that will not affect your weight. The amount of food you eat will affect your weight, potentially, depending how it's made up and how your body reacts to the total makeup of your food and its makeup at any given time. Sure, there are many things that impinge upon how the human body responds when you feed it, and not just the amount of heat units in the food that you consume. That's not the only thing at all. All right, good. What's next?
So what we have to determine is what creates a caloric deficit.
Well, that'll be interesting, given that we've already defined what a caloric deficit is, Paul, and that is, in a human being, it would have to be a human whose core body temperature is lowered below what it should be, which is going to be fatal if it hasn't already been. Oops.
And by understanding the big picture, it can...
Yes, the big picture that would give you the understanding, Paul, that calories are heat. They are photons. Nothing else. They are explicitly defined as such and measured as such. That is what calories are. The human metabolic system is incapable of absorbing any significant amount of photons and encapsulating that energy and using it for metabolic process. Sure, the mitochondria directly under the skin can encapture some photons incoming, and those photons can interact with, for example, some electrons in the electron transport chain in some of those mitochondria, yes, and give it a slight boost to those mitochondria, absolutely, but it's not meaningful at all. Okay, the vast majority of energy that humans produce in the mitochondria is due to the oxidation of chemical substance, physical mass, carbohydrates, fats, less common proteins, and even less common than that, hopefully, alcohol. Okay? Not by absorbing light. Okay?
Can really help us make progress. Okay, so first, let's talk about energy balance.
Yes, let's. Energy balance, you say. What's energy, by the way, Paul? Are you going to operationally define energy? Good luck. The best minds in the world hitherto have been unable to actually provide us with an independently verifiable definition of what energy even is. Energy, the capacity to do work. Fantastic. What's work? Force times distance. Okay. What's force? A mass times an acceleration. What's mass? It's the result of inertia produced when fields interact in such a way as to cause a drag on those fields. Good. Anyway, tell us about energy, Paul.
Energy intake, energy expenditure. All right. A lot of us think that we burn most of the calories through exercise.
We don't burn any calories at all. Calories are heat. Calories are photons of light at various wavelengths, usually in the infrared range, because that's the lowest form of heat being released, I guess, by our bodies. These are massless fields, particles, if you like, depending on which context you're talking in, because of particle field duality theory and all of that. When you burn something, which is the oxidation of a substance, which you could say is loosely analogous to what human beings do with carbohydrates and fats and proteins and alcohol. It's really not, but okay, fine, whatever. The result of burning something is the release of some of that heat energy in the form of photons, which is lost to entropy. You cannot oxidize a photon, so you can't burn calories. Semantics, you might say? No, this is really important because as a scientist, your role is to communicate accurately, unambiguously, and correctly about phenomena so that you don't misguide people into thinking that they can track their heat units and modify the intake of their heat units in such a way as to predictably change their mass on a weighing scale or something, because that's not going to work, Paul. Okay?
That is not the case. So if you look at this chart, you'll see that the greatest portion of our calories are burned through our
not burned.
basal metabolic rate.
Okay, fine.
But what is a basal metabolic rate? Well, that is just the calories that we burn to
No, still.
live. It's our breathing, it's our movements, okay? It's our organs, it's our cell regeneration.
Right, so it's energy that is lost from the open system of the human body to entropy as a function of the metabolic work undertaken by our cells in keeping our body alive, pretty much. And as such, what you are doing is changing mass from one form to another using a chemical process, ostensibly that of oxidation, and you are oxidizing carbohydrates, free fatty acids, less often amino acids from protein, and less often than that, hopefully, alcohol. And what you are doing is you are transmuting those things through chemical reactions into carbon dioxide and water. The carbon dioxide is breathed out at the lungs according to the concentration gradients of the carbon dioxide in the blood as moderated by the capacitance of the body for carbon dioxide at that time, and a few other things as well, but let's not get into that. The water is added to your body pools of water, which is then moderated largely by the sensible losses such as urination, or the insensible losses such as sweating and the humidity of the breath, pretty much. So the mass changes from one form to another. The two exhaust products, if you like, carbon dioxide and water, generally exit the body, mostly, at some point, either immediately or thereafter. Job's a good one. Nothing to do with heat at all, or photons pretty much at all, except that the photons are involved in the chemical interactions between the oxygen and the carbohydrates, fats, protein and alcohol. But nothing to do with calories, nothing whatsoever at all.
It's all the things that go into us being alive. And honestly, basal metabolic rate is a very large number for a big reason, because that's what the majority of our life is about. Okay.
Being alive, yes, good.
A lot of us like to focus on this idea of exercise.
But no, that's a bad idea. As an exercise physiologist, first and foremost, actually, kiddies, I can tell you that the benefits, health-wise, of an appropriately designed and appropriately executed program of exercise, the benefits of that are untold. They are immense. However, if you have to exercise in order to control your body composition, then your diet is wrong. Period. Full stop. End of discussion. Okay? And it's wrong in terms of its makeup and possibly its volume. If you want to make this really simple and learn how to control your body composition with ease, then you listen to someone like me who actually knows what they're talking about, and I will give you pretty much one instruction that you need to follow, and everything else falls into line behind that if you get that right. And the instruction is this: eat a diet which is made up in the correct fashion in terms of the macronutrient makeup of it, which I'll talk about later on if it becomes or seems an obvious thing to do in this video or not. Okay? If you do that, if you get your macronutrient makeup of your diet correct, you will not overeat. You will not have to exercise to control your body composition. This battle will be over. You will never have to watch another video on how to control your body composition. Okay? Exercise is not the answer.
As you can see here, exercise makes up as little as 5% of our total daily energy expenditure. A larger portion is made up through NEAT or non-exercise activity, and a lot of people don't understand that NEAT means
activity is exercise, of course, so separating meaningful exercise or exercise with malice aforethought out from activity that's not exercise with malice aforethought is really a bit pointless. It's all activity, it's physical movement, it's the contraction of skeletal muscles largely in order to move the body around the universe and to negotiate around in the universe, do things, act against various forms of resistance. Whether you are doing it meaningfully as part of an exercise program or whether you're doing it as part of your daily activities of living, it's really a pretty poor distinction is what I'm saying. Okay? It's a bit pointless.
Meaning the hand gestures that we do, the walk that we take, the dancing that we do in our living room when we're making our TikTok videos.
No, we don't do that. No.
Non-exercise activity makes up a lot of our day, and sometimes when we have low energy, poor diet, well, our NEAT will actually decrease.
Yes, as will your planned exercise with malice aforethought. If you're not feeling for it, you'll often skip it, won't you? Most of you have, like me, a severe limit to the self-discipline. I'm all about the discipline of others, frankly. That's why I've taken on the role as the Field Marshal of the Meat Militia, at the behest of my good friend and lifelong colleague, Lord Edward Yellow Ted, who said, I really do need to get a bit more serious about spanking a few more bottoms. So I have done. But looking after my own self-discipline, that's another story, boys and girls. Join me next week for a discussion about that, perhaps, maybe.
Okay, so you actually burn less calories.
No, you don't burn any calories at all. We've covered that, Paul. Calories are photons of light. They are electromagnetic waves. They are disturbances in the electromagnetic field, if you will, if you like. All of those statements are simultaneously true and false, depending on how you look at things. That's for another day, though. You can't burn them. Sorry. Burning is oxidizing. You can't chemically interact oxygen with photons in that way.
to conserve energy if you're not doing things properly. Now, the last number you see here, the 10%, that is the thermic effect of food. That is the cost of our bodies breaking down the food that we intake.
Well, that really depends, Paul, on the intake food macronutrient profile. Vastly, that depends on that. So that 10% is an average value, I assume, and there's no indication of the error around that whatsoever given on your little pie chart there. The error around that's massive depending on the intakes, macronutrient-wise, of your diet. Okay, so pretty poor information there, Paul.
Those calories are then converted into energy.
Calories are not converted into energy, Paul. Calories are photons of light released when the energy has been released from the food that's already been and done. The exuding of the photons out into the universe at large, the loss of those photons to entropy, that's what the calories are. Once that's done, that's done. The body does not collect up photons, other than what I spoke about earlier, a very little bit, and use those for energy. So no, Paul, calories are not converted into energy and used by the body. That's false, completely false.
Either stored or they're used. Now, if they're stored...
That calories are the result of energy use. You don't store calories.
That can then be converted to body fat. So that's where the term energy balance comes into. So you need to understand that all of our activity throughout the day, not just your exercise, not just your cardio, is going to cause us to burn calories.
Don't do cardio, folks. Don't ever do cardio.
Calories. The excess that we take in, if you consume an abundance of calories...
You can't consume any calories at all to speak of, Paul. It's impossible. Your body will not absorb and maintain photons coming in from the external environment. It just doesn't work that way. False.
That can potentially be stored as body fat. Okay, this is...
No, not at all. Body fat is what happens when you store free fatty acids, carbohydrates, which are first converted to free fatty acids, or proteins, which have been converted firstly to carbohydrates and then from carbohydrates to free fatty acids as fatty acids. Okay? Nothing to do with photons. Nothing whatever to do with calories. Calories are irrelevant here. It is the chemical interaction between physical species of physical things, of mass in various forms.
The idea of burning more calories.
No, you don't burn calories.
You create. I do want to kind of paint a picture here, though. Our bodies are always storing body fat and always breaking it down. Those two processes...
Not actually strictly true either, Paul.
...never stop. Our bodies are very dynamic. I know a lot of us think of it as binary, black and white, an off switch and on switch. No, sure. They're always both happening. So what's
not always.
Most important is to think of it as a 24-hour window, a 48-hour window, even an entire week. You can have several great days in a caloric deficit.
No, you can't, because you won't survive 2 or 3 days with lowered body temperature. You will die. Okay, we've covered this.
And have one really bad day in a caloric surplus and set back.
No, same thing. You won't survive having your body temperature raised. That's what a caloric excess is. You're talking incorrectly, ignorantly, and falsely, Paul. What you're actually talking about is the amount of mass that is being consumed in the form of carbohydrates, fats, proteins, and alcohol. Mass, not photons. Okay?
Your progress for a number of days or even a week or more. Okay, so that's why it's so important to understand the energy expenditure.
Well, if you did, Paul, you wouldn't be speaking so ignorantly. You wouldn't be saying the things that you're saying if you did understand. You clearly don't understand. Clearly, you do not understand at all.
What we're taking in. So let's talk about a study, okay?
A study.
How accurately are you paying attention to your diet? Everyone tells me they're eating 1,500 calories. Everyone tells me they're taking in 1,200 calories.
Nobody has a clue about how many calories they are taking in. If what we're talking about now is the actual effective energy contained within the food that we're consuming. Nobody is measuring that accurately. That takes very, very expensive, very technical equipment in highly specialized laboratory situations and some pretty clever scientists to do. Joe Public out there on the street has no hope, Paul, of getting anywhere close, especially considering the labels that you will find, the nutritional information labels on food, are allowed to be out by up to 20%, Paul. No hope.
They're eating healthy and they're exercising and they're doing cardio, but they can't
Don't do cardio, folks.
lose weight. I got news for you. You're not eating 1,500 calories. You're not eating 1,200 calories. And I'll cite it.
Yeah, but Paul, you have no better idea about how many calories are being consumed than the person who's erroneously saying they're eating 1,500. For a start, you're both wrong, because you cannot consume photons, which is what calories are. You can consume mass, absolutely. Who's accurately measuring the mass of actually accessible energy-containing foods that they are actually consuming? Nobody. Who's making the correct adjustments to what they are consuming on the basis of the various different TEF values for different foods? Nobody. Who's making adjustments for actually tracing the fate of the amino acids consumed, which ones are being broken down for oxidative energy and which ones are being incorporated into the body structures and thus in effect contain no calories at all? Nobody is doing that, Paul. That's the problem here. This is why you cannot use calorie counting as an effective tool for weight loss unless you vastly grossly undereat, which is absolutely contraindicated for your long-term health prospects. And you should not do that. We're done here. Not even halfway through your video. How many calories for fat loss? None, Paul, because you can't consume calories.
This study here that showed that this population of people were undercalculating their calorie intake by as much as 47%.
Plus the 20% error on the labels as well, Paul. Add that in as well, on top. So we're now up to 60% error. Good.
They were also overestimating the calories that they were burning in their exercise by 51%.
Right, so we've got no fucking prayer here, have we, Paul, then? Because what's 60% in one direction plus 50% in the other in terms of how accurate it's going to be? Less than zero accuracy, isn't it? Forget about it. This is not a tool that is going to work for the average person. As I say, unless you vastly, grossly undereat for a sustained period of time, which is not a good idea. That's not the answer. The answer is sort out your macronutrient proportions. That will sort out your appetite. That will sort out your volume, your mass intake automatically, and it will sort out your body and return it to your genetically pre-programmed, predetermined ideal fat carriage as a human being. Simples.
This group of people were claiming that they were taking in 1,200 calories and couldn't lose weight, but after the study, they found that they didn't have abnormal thermogenesis. They didn't have a problem with metabolism. They actually had a problem with accountability. And this is where coaching, this is where...
No, you can't coach someone to be better, to be more accurate, using a tool that is, by its very design, vastly, grossly, unacceptably inaccurate, Paul. There's no way around this.
Being involved in this video is really going to help you guys because...
No, it isn't. Paul doesn't even understand what calories are. How the hell do you think he's going to help you maintain anything except his own bank balance, frankly, to be honest? Let's be honest. That's what Paul's doing here.
First things first. The energy that we take in, that we consume, That's what we have to be accountable for.
We don't consume energy, we consume food in the form of mass. We liberate energy from that mass using chemical interactions between substances, and we encapsulate some of that liberated energy and use that for metabolic process. The rest is lost as insensible entropy. The actual calories being put out, the photons being exuded from our bodies to entropy, to the universe at large. Okay?
Okay. Looking at some food, and I'll put something on the screen here that shows you the vast difference between tracking your peanut butter by saying, I'm going to eat a tablespoon visually versus by weighing it. The difference can be several hundred calories. You do that several times per day. All of a sudden, you're in a surplus, and now you're complaining that you can't lose weight because you're eating 1,500 calories and you're actually eating 2,600 calories, right? It's very easy. So the process that
You are not eating any fucking calories, Paul. Calories are photons. We've covered this.
I like to do with everyone that's focused on this goal is accountability. We want to download some apps, okay?
Oh, fuck me. Are you kidding? This is fucking ridiculous, Paul. Absolutely fucking ridiculous and unnecessary. It's also not going to fucking work for most people. Jesus Christ. Human beings have been walking the earth in our current modern form, Paul, for 350,000 fucking years. We did not do that because we all fucking downloaded apps. We were not slim and healthy because we all followed some fucking app 350,000 years ago, did we, Paul? No. For most of that time, the concept of calories didn't even fucking exist, Paul. Did it? Do tell us about your app, though, that you've probably got a financial interest in.
We want to use something. Now, prophysique.com.
Ah. Cha-ching!
Put it on the screen here. Has a free calorie calculator for you guys. You're going to put in some information like your height.
Yeah, maybe it is free, but I bet there's ads on it. And that's where you're making the money out of it, isn't it, Paul? Because you wouldn't do it out of the goodness of your heart, would you? Just for fun.
Weight, your age, your activity levels.
Oh, right. So how's a person going to gauge their activity levels? And once they've done that, if they do get that absolutely right, which they fucking won't, Paul, and you know it, how can you possibly even roughly guess how much energy they actually are expending from their age, height, weight, and gender? How are you going to do that, Paul? Your app isn't going to do that either.
And it's going to spit out some numbers. Now,
that's right. Some numbers it just pulls out of its ass. Of absolutely no fucking value at all.
These numbers are based on research, but I can tell
you. So, these numbers are loose estimations. Very, very loose estimations. Just because you've invoked the magic word research doesn't mean it actually has any validity or veracity, Paul.
Tell you, based on these studies, that if you actually follow these numbers, they're going to be pretty accurate.
No, they're not, Paul. Research shows the exact opposite of what you've just said, actually. Totally false.
Okay, if you're accurate with your diet. It's also...
But people aren't, Paul. Neither are they accurate with their activity levels. And neither is the guesstimate of their basal metabolic rate based on their age, height, weight, and gender, Paul. Get the fuck out of here.
It's going to help you come up with how many meals per day to eat. Going to give you a macro breakdown of how much protein, carbs, and fats. So
that's, oh, Jesus, 60% carbohydrates. I wonder why people can't lose weight, Paul. There it is there. Okay? In a nutshell. Fat as low as 16% and carbs as high as 60%. No, son. Mistake. You will not successfully have lifelong, easy control of your body composition with that diet there on the screen right there at all. That's not going to happen ever. No chance.
This free calculator can be a great starting place, but ultimately
no, it's not. It's absolute rubbish.
It's going to come down to you getting an app. Now, the app that I use is called Fat Secret. It's a free app. You download it. It's a food diary. Everything that you eat, you should be tracking. Everything. If you drink something, if you eat something.
Or eat a species-appropriate, species-specific diet in terms of its macronutrient makeup, your satiety signaling will take care of the volumes that you intake automatically if you follow a correct diet for your speciation, that being human being. You don't have to track anything, ever. Record anything, ever. Think about it, ever. Or exercise, ever, if you don't want to. And your body composition will be ideal once you've been following a species-appropriate, species-specific approach to nutrition consistently for a long enough period of time, depending on what the situation is in your body right now and how badly you've messed your health up. Some of us have got longer journeys to get back to health than others. Okay, that's life. No, you don't have to get apps. No, you don't have to track anything or record anything, ever. This is ridiculous.
If you are interested in losing weight, now, a lot of people...
Weight? You can lose weight a lot of different ways, Paul. You can dehydrate yourself vastly. You'll lose a lot of weight doing that. Is that a good idea? No. You can lose a lot of weight by surgically removing all 4 limbs from your body, Paul. I could do that for you if you like. You weigh a lot less if I cut your arms and legs off. Is that indicated? Is that a good thing? You're talking about fat, Paul. It's not a dirty word. It's not something we should avoid for fear that we might offend somebody. You're talking about fat loss. It's a spade, son. Call it a fucking spade. What's next?
People say they're interested in losing weight, and they say they're on 1,200 calories or 1,500 calories.
But they've got no fucking idea what their actual effective energy intake is. And most people also have no fucking idea that there is no way you can equate energy in the form of calories and suggest you have any idea how much energy you actually are consuming or how much you're expending. It's not appropriate. Thermodynamics applies, but it's not relevant. It's not remotely relevant to a human being, free living in an open thermodynamic system, i.e. the universe, at all. This is nonsense, Paul. Complete fucking nonsense.
But they're not. And they don't want to be accountable because they don't actually want to know.
Neither do they need to know, Paul. What they need to do is eat a species-appropriate, species-specific diet in terms of its macronutrient makeup, and the rest takes care of itself.
I'll tell you this, as soon as you start tracking, it changes things.
Yeah, that's right. And not for the better, most likely.
Really changes your perception of what you eat. You don't realize how many times a day you grab for a snack, okay? I
don't. I eat once a day. I eat one meal a day. I almost never snack. I don't have the urge to. Why? Because I eat a species-appropriate, species-specific diet that does not leave me constantly in a problem with my blood sugars. That's why, Paul.
I have kids. I always the Hoover in the room. I'm always eating their leftovers. When I am focused on reaching a physique like this on the screen here, where I'm very low body fat, lots of muscle, okay? As a lifetime natural bodybuilder, it's because I'm able to be very consistent with my diet. I cut out the snacking and I hold myself accountable.
Yeah, but Paul, that physique that you're showing there is not sustainable all the time, and you don't sustain it all the time. You know you don't. Neither is it something that somebody should strive to do all the time. That would be extremely unhealthy and also ultimately lifespan shortening without any question whatsoever. Sure, it's aesthetically pleasing to have a great physique, and congratulations on having it when you've got it. But you and I both know that you don't maintain that all the time. You sit somewhere there and thereabouts. So why would you put that up on the screen as anything else but trying to provide some credibility for yourself when actually everything that's coming out of your mouth is doing the exact opposite? It's undercutting your credibility. It's showing us how ignorant you actually are about the physics, the science, the energetics, and all the aspects of this. You're telling people to try and do something they will not be able to do, track their calories in or out. They will not be able to achieve this, Paul. and you're telling them to get an app that you're going to get some money out of if they do get their app, okay, which somehow will help them track, which it won't because it still will not give them the tools they need. You need very, very technical, very expensive equipment in a very highly specialized laboratory to get anywhere near an accurate measurement of what energy somebody is consuming or expending. Okay, this is falsehoods. This is empty promises. This is lies. This is misanthropy. This is bullshit, Paul Revalia. You need to stop.
For months and months at a time. That's what it can take to reach the physique that you're after. Okay? So now let's talk about some other aspects. What should you be tracking? It's very important to...
Nothing whatsoever. Except, I suppose, not even so much tracking or recording, but just keeping an eye on and being disciplined about the macronutrient makeup of your diet. It's all you need to do. The specifics of what makes up a human diet. Well, I'll tell you what it is, Paul. We'll do it early. I know this is not... I was going to do it right at the end of your video, but it seems to be appropriate to do it here at this point. What should you eat as a human being? The muscle meats, not organs, the muscle meats and associated fats of mostly large ruminant animals, butter, salt, some dairy if you do well on dairy and you don't react poorly to it. Avoid the milk part of dairy. Quite a bit of sugar in that. That's it. No plant material ever. No carbohydrates ever. No fiber ever. No supplements of a nutritional nature ever. That's it. Now, obviously, that's the ideal. People will get as close to that as they personally feel willing to and prepared to go to. I can tell you that a 5% transgression against that 100% ideal situation is very, very serious in terms of the knock-on effects for your health. Much, much more than the 5% transgression should attract. It's completely unfair. I don't make the rules. I'm just telling you what they are. It's up to you, though, as an individual. If you follow my plan to the letter, your body composition will, over time, come right from where it is now, if it's not right already, and it will stay there easily without effort on your part, other than following the correct diet, if that is an effort for you. It won't be after a while, by the way. You won't have to exercise, you won't have to track or record anything, and you won't need Paul Revalia's fucking app. Okay? What's next?
Pay attention to your activity levels as well, because is 1,500 calories a caloric deficit?
Fuck me. Photons. Massless photons. Okay.
Potentially. It most likely should be, but you have to understand what you're doing outside in the gym. You have to understand where your need is at, and you have to understand where your sleep is at. Sleep is a very crucial factor that will impact your basal metabolic rate. It'll impact your hunger.
So will a bunch of other factors as well, Paul.
Impact your recovery and can therefore positively impact, if you're sleeping well, the amount of calories that you burn throughout the day.
You don't burn any calories any day ever. You cannot burn photons.
Through NEAT, because you have more energy.
What you are doing is oxidizing mass, changing its form into volatile forms in the body, which can be excreted and are excreted from the body, one in the form of a gas, carbon dioxide, and the other in the form of liquid water. Okay? You are not burning photons. Neither will you lose weight by exuding any number of photons. Photons are massless. They don't weigh anything. You can't lose weight by exuding things that don't have any fucking weight. The only way to lose weight is to breathe out carbon dioxide gas and piss out water, sweat out water, or breathe out water. That is it. Okay? Fuck's sake.
How good do you feel when you get a really good night's sleep, right? You have more energy throughout the day to do more things, and that, therefore, can create a caloric deficit. So,
no. because if you do more activity, it's even less likely that you'll get hypothermia, which is what a caloric deficit is, remember?
Being accountable to your diet, being accountable to tracking your activity, your sleep, and paying attention to all that. And then you have to be able to say, okay, if I'm taking in 1,500 calories and I'm doing...
Yeah, but how do we get anywhere near gauging how many calories you are taking in? Even if you accept that there is a exchange rate between energy in the form of photons and energy in its physical manifestation in the physical form of mass, carbohydrates, fats, protein, and alcohol, which there isn't in the human body. There isn't an equivalence. That's the whole point here. For those that missed the actual whole point here, that's what it is. There is no equivalence between calories and chemical energy as used by the human system in its physiological process. Thermodynamical equivalences do not apply in this situation. Anyone that wants to disagree with me on that, please tell me which law of thermodynamics do you think proves me wrong? With regard to the situation at hand, which is a free living human being in the universe, an open thermodynamic system? We'll wait. We won't wait because we've got other things to do.
Doing this much activity and I'm seeing no positive change in body composition or fat loss, and you should be doing multiple measures. You should do a body fat tracking through pictures. I also think the scale can be valuable.
No, mistake. Don't ever stand on a weighing scale. The weighing scale is completely insensitive to how the weight is made up. Water, muscle, skeletal, other components, muscle, Utter nonsense. The weighing scale is not useful. It's not your friend. Don't ever stand on a weighing scale.
A daily weight. I also think that it's very important that you potentially do some measurements, right? And then you need to pick a deadline.
But only do measurements if you have already got a model-esque body.
If you're not seeing progress, you need to...
I'm being facetious, obviously.
Adjust. Give yourself a week, 10 days, 14 days, whatever the timeline is, and then you need to adjust.
All right, so experiment on yourself and adjust because your so-called tracking and measurement isn't working. So ergo, does that mean your tracking and measurement was a useful tool? No, Paul, it fucking wasn't, was it? That's the whole point. If it was a useful tool, it would work predictably for everybody at all times. Does it though, Paul? No, it fucking doesn't, does it? Why? Because the whole premise behind what you're talking about here is fucking ridiculous. It's nonsense. It's anti-science. And you are misleading people and taking advantage of people with your disingenuous, nonsensical ranting here. You are completely out of your depth and out of your lane. You are clearly not remotely trained in human nutrition, human metabolic process, physics, logic, or first principles. You're a bodybuilder. Go and do that, Paul, quietly.
You need to either take in less calories.
No. Fucking nonsense.
Or increase your activity level.
All right, so eat less and move more. Rubbish. Absolute rubbish, because that fails completely to take into effect the compensatory mechanisms the human body has precisely in order to maintain homeostasis, and as such, it is expressed as a form of hysteresis. Okay? Utter fucking nonsense, Paul.
Adding more cardio, adding more...
No, cardio is not your friend. Cardio will not help. Please, folks, if you get nothing else from this video, get this. Do not do cardio, ever.
Neat. Adding more daily activity. You guys, I have multiple videos with over a...
Yes. Multiple videos. My God. How did that happen, Paul? Other than because, at large, people are immensely fucking stupid. Immensely stupid. All of you people that watched Paul Revalia videos and thought they were good and valuable in terms of this kind of material, you need to give yourself about 6 uppercuts. You should be embarrassed that you've been taken in by this idiot. What's next?
million views discussing how to create a caloric deficit.
Fuck's sake. How to be hypothermic. It's not a good idea, Paul. It's usually fatal.
How to walk for fat loss. The concept.
Oh my God, fat loss? Walking? Fat loss? Are you that stupid? Is it possible to be that fucking stupid?
Steps are always the same. Accountability with diet, with cardio, and with lifestyle.
Cardio. No, don't do cardio. Ever. Do not do it. Diet, yes. Species appropriate, species specific diet, as I have clearly outlined earlier. No carbohydrates, no plant materials, ever. No tracking required, no counting required, no effort required other than to not put plants in your mouth, ever.
And adjusting when you see that you're not making progress.
So ignoring anything you've actually recorded because it's so fucking vastly inaccurate anyway, and actually just experimenting on yourself, which is what you should be doing anyway if you had no idea how to naturally, normally control your body composition without any help. Nothing to do with recording or measuring anything. Anyway, people who have watched this video now need to experiment not one jot, ever. All you need to do is follow my instructions to the letter, and you will get the results that I have promised in some period of time, depending on how badly out of whack your metabolism is now. A lot of people say to me, how quickly will this sort my health out? Which my answer is, well, how long did it take you to fuck your health up? Okay?
How do you know you're in a caloric deficit?
You can't, Paul. There is no way. There is no way to know. And you're not if your body temperature is 37 degrees Celsius, if you want to be really picky, which I do, because that's what I do. That's my whole shtick, in case you hadn't picked it up, boys and girls, okay? The Field Marshal is here to instill the discipline, and that includes the way we communicate about things. A spade is a spade, and a caloric deficit, by definition, means your body temperature is reduced below 37 degrees Celsius. Hypothermia. Hypothermia. Make sure I pronounce it correctly. Okay? That's not what you want.
You're losing body fat.
No. Your body fat carriage has nothing to do with calories at all. Because remember, Paul, calories are photons that weigh absolutely nothing. They have no mass. None at all. Idiot.
That is the definition. So
No, it isn't. No, it fucking isn't the definition. No, Paul. Where the purple fuck did you get that from? Who told you that? Who told you that?
Not seeing those positive changes, don't be.
Now you're just repeating yourself in circles, son. Did you have a plan? Did you have a script? Maybe you should get a scientific advisor on board. I know a bloke. He's really good. He's a bit fussy on his semantics and things. I'm talking about this guy, by the way. This is the guy you should get on board. Lord Edward Yellow. He's the other field marshal, well, one of the other field marshals of the Meat Militia, where what we do is overcome very, very bad ideas, like all of those being espoused by you in your video here, Paul, and we overcome those with much, much better ones based in actual facts. A spade is a spade. Communicating effectively and correctly is important, and giving people actual utilitarian information about how they can actually change their lives predictably, effortlessly, and without problems. And that's not what you're doing here, Paul. You're misleading people. You're misguiding them really, really unacceptably, unforgivably, actually. And you need to stop doing it. And you need to stop doing that today. It's disgraceful. Okay, you're completely out of your depth. You're completely out of your lane. You've got no idea whatsoever about what you're talking about here. The advice that you're giving could, in fact, be very, very dangerous, because it can lead to all sorts of mental health issues in people, actually. Really serious problems. Stop it.
Be afraid to make an adjustment. And hey guys, in January, we're having our next transformation challenge. Our current transformation challenge is about to end. We give out cash money. Last year, we gave away $50,000. Okay. Now, it's a group-led focus where we give you training plans, we give you meal plans, we give you a group where we can go in and discuss how to help you. We have 20.
Jesus, really? Wow. This is nothing more than a money-making mill, a treadmill, a self-perpetuating treadmill of money-making for Paul Revalia. This is an industry for this man. He has no interest at all in giving you the quick, simple, definite, and effective answer to how to control your body composition easily, simply, and effectively. And I've given it to you today. No charge. I've given you that information for free. All you need to do is follow my instruction to the letter. That's it.
28 coaches here at Pro Physique who are interested in helping you guys lose weight. So
No, they're interested in their bank balances, Paul.
if you're looking for a deadline, something to focus on, well, hey, our transformation challenge that kicks off in January might be the thing for you, or you can just start right now, guys. I hope you're having a great day, and I'll talk.
I really am. It's been fantastic. I've been making videos about people who've been wrong on interwebs, Paul, because there's a fucking shitload of that going on. It's all over the place, frankly. People out of their lanes talking about shit they know nothing about in order to try and make money out of people. It's fucking incredible.
Talk to you tomorrow.
Right, well, that was shithouse for Revalia. That was really, really fucking shithouse from start to finish. I think I've been clear. All right, boys and girls, Ted and I would like to thank you for your attendance at today's seminar. No, we wouldn't, because it was your orders to attend anyway. That's what we do here in the Meat Militia. We order people around. We say eat meat and fat, salt, butter and water, rest and repeat. Do that to satiety and everything will be sweet. No exercise required, no tracking required, no apps required, no coaching required, really. If you've got some addiction issue problems, talk to Auntie Pim, Her Majesty, I should say, Pim, Queen of the Pirates, the third and most senior of the field marshals here in the Meat Militia. She will happily help you. Go and see her on her fine channel and link in with her. She'll give you some coaching on how not to crave sugar and shit anymore. But I'm done coaching you. That's it. Eat meat and fat. We're done. That's it. Nothing else. Don't count anything. Don't track anything. No need whatsoever. All right. See you next time when someone else will be wrong on interwebs. Music.